Good afternoon, my name is Matthew Russell. I go to SDI. My student number is MARU00495. We are in cleaning CFL-100, and this is the week 4 lab. Today is July 24, 2016. So today is the lab where I'm going to be cleaning two weapons of somewhat similarity. So I have my Springfield MC operator, so 1911 style. Weapon is safe, no round in the chamber, magazine out. And also my Springfield XDS, also no round in the chamber and magazine out, fully safe, both weapons. So they're somewhat similar. One's going to be a polymer pistol, one is a 1911 style. I'm very limited on having something all the way similar because this is what I have. So today we're going to be utilizing our Otis cleaning kit that was provided from SDI. So we're going to be utilizing patches to swab the barrels, also an AP brush, our steel cable to bring the patches through, and also the appropriate brass cleaning brushes to go down the barrels as well. And also for cleaner wise, we're going to use the Carbon Destroyer on the 1911, and I'll use regular break-free CLP on my XDS. That way we can kind of see the differences between the both. And for lube, one will on both we'll put a little bit of synthetic grease super lube. I got a recommendation from American Gunsmithing Institute. One of their pistol smiths actually recommended putting small amounts on the slide rails on pistols, because it's high temperature and multi-purpose use. It's a pretty good gun grease that we can use on the slide rails, and then also just on the locking lugs on the 1911, and then the barrel lug on the polymer pistol for the pistol lube. So without further ado, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to set this up. That way we can break down these pistols and start to clean them. Bear with me. All right, let's see. So I am only on my own, so we're gonna have to bear with the footage shots. I'll move the camera as needed, but let's go ahead again, visually check the 1911, nothing in it. Let's go ahead and bring the slide home and decock the hammer. So first what we're going to do is, being that everything is safe, we're going to go ahead and depress the bushing. That way we can release the barrel bushing. So I have a barrel bushing tool, and what we're doing is we're rotating the bushing to release it from the barrel. I hope I went the right direction. What we'll go ahead and do is we'll release the tension off the recoil spring and go ahead and get that out of the way. And what we'll do is we'll rotate the bushing and pull the bushing out for the barrel right here. And then here's the recoil spring and then the guide. And then now what we'll do is, being that there's no tension, we're going to go ahead and retract the pistol until the notches line up to release the slide release right here. So we'll kind of place everything in order as we need it, and then that will make it to where we can release the slide in the barrel off of the 1911. And here's the back spring guide for the recoil. And then also right here, you'll be able to lever down the barrel link, push it down, that way it clears, and then pull it out. Inside the test, it says this was the top of the barrel. I disagree. I believe this is the bottom of the barrel. Top of the barrel will be up here where the locking lugs are, so the verbiage was slightly off on the test, saying that to rotate the barrel link down on the top of the barrel. So, but on the bottom of the barrel, you'll rotate that down and pull the barrel out. And so now you have the three parts for the upper slide, you have the slide itself, the barrel, and then the recoil, and then part of the bushing is part of the barrel. And then right here you have your lower receiver. Okay. Next, what we'll do is we'll disassemble the XDS. Again, verify that it is safe. Go ahead and send it forward. Actually, for this one, you'll want it to the lock to the rear. You'll press up the release lever. You'll send it forward, pull the trigger, and release. Releasing the lower receiver right here, place that to the side. And now for the upper slide, what you're going to do is you're going to take the recoil spring, this one's all in one, you're going to depress it to lift it and pull it out of the way. Place that to the side, and then you're going to lift up and pull out the whole barrel. So again, on the polymer, you'll again have the upper slide, the barrel, and the recoil system, and then the lower receiver. Both magazines for these are put away. We're not going to be cleaning those, so we'll just be focusing on cleaning these two pistols. And so what we'll do first is I'll take my cleaning rag, and what I'm going to do is wipe off any surface grease and grime that I can see on the barrel itself, and we can kind of get all that off first. And then what we'll do is I'll take a little bit of this carbon destroyer. Usually you're going to want to soak everything inside of like a little tub, but both these pistols have maybe only had about 50 rounds shot through them, so this one's actually a little bit dirty just because I let it sit a little too long, but it's not too bad. Usually you're going to want to let them soak in a bath of solvent of some sort prior to cleaning, but I don't think it's needed for either of these. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a few drops of this carbon destroyer, put it on this all-purpose brush. A little too much. Not used to this, never used this carbon destroyer before. I've used CLP, it's more of a liquid. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and start giving this a nice good scrub. Get a lot of this carbon off right here. So we're just going to get everything that we can see visually around this lock link, the barrel link, around the chamber and this slight feed ramp right here. Get any of the visible carbon that we can see. Clean and inspect around your locking lugs up on the top of the barrel. Clean around the top of the barrel as well. And we'll go ahead and just give the whole barrel a scrub. And get the tip of the barrel and the muzzle, get that all nice and cleaned. So actually clean it pretty well. So we'll go ahead and wipe that down. Wipe everything nice and dry and clean. You want to make sure everything's nice and dry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pass a few swabs of this carbon destroyer, but while we're waiting for that, we'll go ahead and put a few drops of this carbon destroyer on this slide right here, just so it can start working a little bit. Let it soak in a bit, put it like around where the locking lugs are. That way it can start getting to work while we are scrubbing. While we were passing a few swabs through the barrel. Let's open up these patches. So these right here, these are small patches for smaller calibers. Something that you're going to want to use for using pistols, because if you go and use the larger calibers, oops, sorry about that. Larger caliber ones like rifle ones, they are going to they will get stuck in the barrel. So what you're going to want to do is just go ahead and swab this through. I usually just poke poke it through and then send it back through itself. Kind of like this, kind of just get it to where you can put a swab like that on it. So we're going to put a little bit of this carbon destroyer on the swab. You just want to get a little bit on it. You don't want to oversaturate it. And you want to gently put that through and go ahead and swab it a few times through there. And as you can see, it's already starting to pull off a little bit of carbon out of the barrel. So you want to swab that through a few times. So, right, just like that. So you can see it already pulled out a little bit of carbon out of there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab another cable. Another pistol size cable. We're going to use this to use the appropriate brass brush to put a few passes through it to kind of clean that out as well. So this one right here, it says 44 through 0.44 through 0.458 for rifle and pistol. So this would be the same caliber that you'd use for a 45 caliber pistol. We're going to go ahead and thread this on here. And I like going the same direction, just like how I was swabbing it, same direction the bullet will pass through. And I just usually go directional. I don't like going back and forth. And then send that through a few times just to kind of give it a few more good scrubbings out of it. And then you're going to want to visually inspect for dirt. So it looks like everything's scrubbed. Looks like there's a few more particles. So what we'll do is we'll get another clean patch and we're going to pass it through until we don't see any more coming off. So go ahead and feed that onto here, and just like before, go ahead and pass it through. Kind of spin it around, trying to free up some of the carbon that was scrubbed out of it. And then give it a look. Oh, everything looks clean. Everything inside the part of the chamber right here where the casing goes through looks pretty clean. A little discoloring, but that's from the heat. But it looks like all the carbon has been scraped out of it. So it looks like successful. Again, like I said, I've never used this carbon destroyer before, so far everything looks good. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and give a good wipe down on all the other parts, kind of get all of the gunk and grime off of it. Put a little bit more of this carbon destroyer, just to kind of give all the rest of these parts a good scrub. Make sure everything's nice and clean, and make sure everything's dried off good. Okay, and the slide release pin, go ahead and give that a wipe down, and then also a nice good cleaning. Go ahead and wipe that dry. As you're cleaning everything, you just kind of want to look at everything, make sure there's no defects, no cracks, breaks. So it's good practice for your own, and then once we eventually start doing this for others, kind of makes it to where you can help them out to make sure that their weapons, their handguns, rifles, and that are in good working order. And make sure if you ever do run along something that is broken, that you stop and you let them know ahead of time before you start making purchases for them. So make sure everything gets nice, wiped down and clean. Work through all the coils of the spring. Get everything nice and this guide rod. So far, one thing I like about this carbon destroyer. It's more of like a liquid base, and it seems like it kind of dries. It doesn't leave like the oil lubrication feel that CLP has. I guess that's one good thing about CLP is it's like an overall you can clean, lubricate, and preserve. So what I'll do is I'll just put the synthetic grease on the 1911, being that we're not using CLP on it, and then I'll just leave CLP on my XDS. Alright, so now that this has been sitting for a little bit, let's go ahead and take your all-purpose brush and give it some good scrubbing in here. Make sure you go and scrub where the locking lugs are, and then along where the barrel travels. And then make sure you go ahead and scrub clean those rail grooves, the slide grooves for the rail system. Make sure you scrub clean the face, the breech face on the 1911 where the firing pin is. Make sure you kind of just give it visual inspection. Make sure you don't see nothing lodged in where the firing pin is and over where the extractor is. Give a nice good cleaner on the ejection port. And back where the firing pin is, give it a nice little scrub. Alright, and you're going to want to just go and wipe everything down, give it a good cleaning. Usually I'd use Q-tips to help dry and get into the small crevices, but I didn't bring any out with me. Make sure you dry up the face of that breech. Clean it back. Make sure you wipe down the whole outside too. Mine's not very dirty, so I didn't really want to scrub it. Get too much muck all over it. Make sure you inspect where the locking lugs for the barrel goes. Make sure there's no debris or anything stopping up inside of them. Make sure everything's nice and dry and clean. Yep, looks good. So that's the whole upper receiver. So now on the lower, you just kind of want to put a little bit more of that carbon destroyer on here. And then you want to go ahead and clean out the rails for the slide on both sides. Get any old grease that might be sitting in there and all the dirt and it gets attracted to them. Give it a little bit of scrub on the inside, anything that you can see that may be a little bit dirty. And then on the feed rail right here on the feed ramp, you want to just make sure you clean it, get all surface grime off of it, make sure it looks nice and shiny. Kind of give it a nice little scrub down the magazine well. Scrub along the back right here where all the firing mechanism is. One thing that's nice about 1911, everything's kind of enclosed from each other for the whole firing control. You can do a little bit more deep cleaning every once in a while by pulling the grips off and getting in where the trigger is and kind of getting the cleaning in there, but it's not needed all the time. You can get up here around the hammer, depress the hammer, get behind it. Everything nice and clean. Go ahead and cock the hammer back. Yeah, and just kind of get all the surface grime and dirt off of it and go through and dry everything up. Get everything off of there. Clean out those rails. Make sure they're nice and dry, that way you can get everything out and put more lubricant on it. Hammer back, that way you can get behind there where you cleaned. Okay, dry inside of the magazine well. Sometimes you can't reach, you gotta get a little creative and get up in there, that way you can dry everything out. That's looking good. And that's that. So we'll let that sit for a little bit. Close up this carbon destroyer. Clean up a little bit. Now what we'll do is put aside the AP brush I used carbon destroyer on it. I'll pull out my own to use for the CLP for this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and let CLP, so break free CLP, we're going to let it sit inside of here, kind of start dissolving and kind of get working and everything. Let that sit, and then what we're going to do is get a little bit on the barrel where the feed ramp is and put a little bit down the barrel, and I'll put a few drops inside my brush. We'll start scrubbing this, getting everything off. See, on CLP everything gets all nice and oily and shiny, but kind of sticks better what I'm used to using. Get the feed ramp, get along the chamber of the barrel, scrub all up and down the barrel. Smells, love it. Alright, once you're done with that, make sure you dry everything up. Get all that dirty CLP off of it. Get it around this locking lug, feed ramp. Make sure everything nice and shiny. Nice and shiny feed ramp means everything will function good. Alright, so let's get a couple of patches. One for the CLP and one to clean everything out. Go ahead and thread a patch in. Put a few drops of CLP on this. Not too much, just a little bit. And like I said, same direction as a bullet. Go ahead and pass this through a few times. As you can see, it's already starting to pull carbon and dirt out of the barrel. Pass it through a couple of times. Alright. We'll pull that patch off to the side. And what we'll do is we'll take off the brush for the 45. And we'll get us the appropriate brush size. My apologies again. Appropriate brush size right here. This is 370 to 9.3 millimeters, so you can use that for the 9mm pistol. Thread this on. And again, same direction. I like to go with the bullet. Pass it through the barrel a few times, just to kind of break everything up. Scrub everything out. One more time. Alright. Then we'll take a clean patch, thread through our eyelid, do a couple of passes to clean all the dirt out. And as you can see, it really scrubbed a bunch of stuff out of there. It's really cleaning it up. Alright, so this patch is nice and dirty. We'll get one more, just see where, so we can see where we're at. Alright, see how it looks. A lot better. Get everything nice and clean out of there. Give it a good look. Everything looks nice and shiny, no debris. Everything's looking good. Alright. So, barrel's done. Now for the spring, just kind of give it a good little brush real quick. And give it a nice little brush, knock everything off, and give it a little lube on the spring a bit, being that it is CLP. Alright, so there's that. Now that the slide's been sitting for a little bit with CLP on it, let's go ahead and give it a nice good scrub, get everything nice and clean. Make sure you clean inside the slide rails. face breach right here where the firing pin is, or on this, the striker. Nice and clean. Clean where the ejector extractor's at, on the ejection port. Clean up where the barrel's at, the front slides. Let's get all the muck out of there. Alright. Go ahead and wipe it clean. So yeah, like I was saying when I was using the carbon destroyer, the big difference I see, this one leaves a lot of oil residue because it is a cleaner and a lubricant. So I think I kind of like the carbon destroyer as a solvent to be able to clean and knock all this carbon off of it without having so much oily feeling all over everything. The dirt just kind of sticking. So it's a pretty good product. Make sure you get all the dirt. Wipe your hands off a bit. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Get the front of the barrel. Make sure your slides are nice and clean and debris free. Everything looks nice and shiny. That's good. So the whole upper is complete now. Now for the lower, we already have a good amount of CLP still left on this. So go ahead and get your rails. Clean both sides of them. Get a little bit where the feed ramp is. Get all the debris off of that. It's a small little one. Scrub a little bit down where the magazine wheel goes. The same on this one. You don't need there's no grips on this like the 1911, but every once in a while, if you really want to, you can kind of make sure you use the right schematics. I'm pretty versed in taking these apart. You can kind of take the components out, give it a nice good cleaning, make sure there's no debris stuck inside of the fire control, inside the magazine release and everything. Make sure everything's nice and clean. Go ahead and wipe everything down. Get inside the magazine well. What's nice about this is a lot smaller of a pistol. Can reach into the areas better. Make sure everything's nice and dry. So you go ahead and wipe all the dirty CLP off. Even though it's a good lubricant, you want to get rid of it all. And then what you'll do is, as everything goes back, you'll just take like a drop on each rail. Oop. Just a nice little drop on each rail. And just kind of spread it around a bit just to lube on the rail. You don't need to go crazy and put a whole bunch of lube all over the place. You don't need to lube the fire control or anything. You just want to put a little bit of lube where this locking lug is. Lube it up a bit. You don't need to go and drench it all with lube. And go ahead and place the barrel inside. Actually, let's take that out. And what we'll do is just put a couple drops of CLP to lube these rails. Again, don't go crazy, just put a little bit of lube, let it run through. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and assemble it. Place our spring in. And then go ahead and make sure you lift back up your takedown lever. And then go ahead and cock it back and lock it to the rear. Place the lever down and go ahead and send it. And then you can spread the lube around a little bit and then go ahead and give it a nice little wipe down. Yep. Make sure everything's nice and worked in. And then voila, that one's done. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of the synthetic grease just on the rails. So I'm going to put a little bit down on the rails. Doesn't take very much, just a little dab on your finger and you just rub it into the rails. Just a little bit like this. And you'll take a little bit more on your finger, rub it inside of the slide along its rails all the way down. A little bit more and rub it on the other side. Make sure you spread it around a bit. You just kind of get it around there, and then you'll do the rest once when you get it assembled. And you just want to put just a little bit right here on the locking lugs, just so you can lube it up just a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get everything reassembled. All right. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and place the slide on. Go ahead and cock back the hammer. We'll get the slide on there. Actually, you know what? What we'll do is we'll go ahead and get the barrel in. Make sure the link's down. Slide it in, and then put it into a locking position. I want to make sure that this the link's back up. Slide it back together. Look for that link, and what you want to do is go ahead and place this back in where the link is. And then what you'll do is, that way you can catch that link, and then you'll go ahead and notch everything up where it should be. Back in place. Press this plunger and get everything fit back into together right there. That way this is locked in. Okay, so go ahead and send it home. Make sure it's got it. So what you want to do next is place the I'm going out of order. So when you're being judged and rushed, you kind of forget some stuff. So you gotta kind of take this back apart. We gotta get that guide rod and spring back in there first. So let's get that locked into place again. Just place that spring through. Place that guide in there. Make sure that link is up, and go ahead, slide it back together. And again, look for that link. Place the pin back in, and go ahead and realign the slide to the appropriate place. Get that plunger down, that way you can get this pin back in. Okay, it's got it. So now what we'll do is we'll put this guide on here. We'll line up the locking lug or the barrel bushing. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and depress the guide down below the bushing, and then go ahead and slide the bushing back over it towards back in there like that, and then go ahead and work that grease in there, and then go through and wipe off any excess. All right, so again, today was the Lab 4. Was it cleaning two similar pistols? So we cleaned 1911. We used the carbon destroyer, and we used some synthetic grease to grease the rails and the locking lugs. And then we cleaned my XDS with brake free, and we used that also as lube. So two different methods. Old trusty was, I've always used this, but after using this, it's nice because you don't get that greasy feeling as you're cleaning everything, and you have all of that CLP all over your hands with the dirt. So overall, great product, but still gets rid of the carbon and also lubricates well both pistols. So two different ways. All right, again, my name is Matthew Russell with SDI, student number MARU00495. This is for CFL-100 week 4 lab. Today's July 24th, 2016. Have a good day.